G'day everyone, welcome to Grease and Gas. This is another part of the Move Museum that's dedicated to trucks and road transport. Greg and I are both either currently drivers or ex-drivers. So we're going to go through and have a look at some of the later trucks and some of the older trucks that have been restored here. First up, we've got probably a truck that colour scheme that you'll see on a regular basis in Victoria, Cresco Brothers. They've updated their fleet quite a bit, and Greg's been sort of heavily involved in at least photographing their newest acquisitions, being Freightliners. We've got this old 600 Kenworth here. I can only imagine how many kilometres it's got on it, but it's still looking pretty good. They haven't washed the paint off it. Got all the gear you need, the big bunk, big stacks. A nice tidy example for its age. And yeah, they've stuck with this colour theme with their new trucks. We've got over here, we've got this fully restored 1982 Freightliner. Yeah, possibly the first one in Australia. It's got a bit of a mix of Peterbilt styling and Kenworth styling and what have you, but yeah, a great, beautifully restored truck. It's probably done a lot of hard work and been overloaded and tested to its limits, and that bunk there is definitely cosy, very cosy bunk. Oh, beautifully restored interior, jeez, that's immaculate. And I think by the looks of things it's only got one gear shift in it, so it's not like one of those old Macks that's got like 3 or 4 shifters in it, gear shift in it. Yeah, beautiful truck. You've done some work with this truck, haven't you, Greg?
No, we photographed this.
This door refuses to be shut.
Yeah. Now, I photographed this truck with a brand new one at the time at Freightliner in Dandenong. Yeah, so it's good to see the old girl in the museum where she belongs.
That's it. And we've got this big old Ford here. This thing's immaculate. Look at the tray on it, the timber. It's a Ford F600. I'm assuming it's mid-50s. Oh, it's a 56 called Miss Teresa, named after Santo Verapodio, his wife. This truck was named after, running wholesale fruit and veggie to the markets. Very nice old truck. Not sure what it'd be powered by, you reckon? And we got another company that you would see regularly out on the highways and byways, Soli and Sons Transport of Shepparton. It's a Diamond T. The Cadillac of trucks, they reckon, Greg. There's a model 531 Diamond T. Definitely, yeah, as you can see in those photos now, the more common colour scheme on that Freightliner in the middle there, the green and white, white with green stripes. It's definitely a colour scheme you see around a lot more now. This would have been doing the markets as well from someone's orchards, Shepparton being a orchard-rich area. Now we've got this beautiful W model Kenworth here. This one belongs to John Spadaro. Loves his Kenworths. This one is definitely running express, refrigerated express through the 90s. Boom time when there's probably no speed limiters and all sorts of cool stuff going out on the Hume and what they call it, Sesame Street at night and what have you. Yeah, this thing would be good for well over 100 k's an hour if you were allowed to do it. we got Leocatar's transport from Tatura, one of their old Western Star Constellation Series trucks. Still a modern shape, still in immaculate condition, and looks like it's lost a little bit of air out of the cabin airbags, but still, it's been sitting here a while, and it's still a beautiful truck. I remember driving one of these from Adelaide back to Melbourne, and geez, the turbo whistled, and plenty of power, reasonably comfortable, and got the job done, that's for sure. And these guys are still around as well, haven't really changed their sign writing that much, and upgraded probably more Western Stars and more Kenworths. And I think most of them are probably Detroit or Cummins power, and here we go with a truck that its manufacturer became Western Star. This is a big old white road boss. I remember these when I was a kid, being in like Truck and Life magazine and models and what have you. It's just a tough looking old truck, this one. It's got an 892 Detroit in it, and it's like me, the road boss. Beautiful paintwork, great restoration on this one. This one's a 1980, which is not much before white became Western Star. This one's owned by Angelo Calafatis. He migrated to Australia in 1956 and probably started with one truck and became quite the transport company in Australia. It looks like it's got super singles on the front, which is really cool. The old Spider steel rims. Plenty of fuel capacity that we probably couldn't afford to fill. It's probably got that good old Detroit roar to it. You probably got to really drive this thing. Again, another truck that's probably done a lot of market work with Queen Vic Market in Melbourne, and it's got a nice big bunk on it. And yeah, another beautiful restoration, this one, and I'd love to hear it too. Hopefully it's got no mufflers. All right, what we've got here is a 1986 W900 SAR Kenworth. Belonging to Vasil and Chris Rendevsky. SAR standing for Short Bonneted Australian Delivered Right-Hand Drive, and this is Australian built, probably in Bayswater, and this is pretty much how it come off the road, I'd say. The two brothers, Vasil and Chris Rendevsky, started with a 1950 Chevrolet trade truck, and hopefully quickly transitioned to an ACO in 1970. They won a very large contract in 1986 with a beverage company to cart their soft drinks across the eastern seaboard. I wonder if that's Slades or someone like that, you know, like you used to get delivered at home in the milk crates and what have you. Probably the newest parts on this, I think, are the Light Force driving lights on it, but she's done a lot of hard work, this one. And over here we've got the IR Coots Kenworth W, I think it's a 925, possibly Series 2. This Ian Coots started out fighting for a contract to deliver fuel against a well-known company here in Victoria and managed to beat the big dog out. Ended up with amassing a staff of about 800 highly valued employees and 325 immaculately presented vehicles, and the company was sold in 2000 and is still around today as Coots Tankers and what have you, but a lot different trucks, and I think it's actually a darker green on some of the newer Coots trucks. This one here is a really short wheelbase for what it is, but think about trying to get a 40-foot trailer into a service station. I guess you'd probably want a shorter wheelbase and a tighter turning circle, and this thing got the job done. Another beautiful restoration. Probably still wearing its original rego. Here we got a International from Keating's Freightlines. Ken Keating, originally from Bendigo, ended up moving to Shepparton to follow a contract with Streets Ice Cream. Went from the Internationals probably through some of the Macks and Mercedes and what have you, and now it seems like he's got a very modern European fleet, including Scania. It's another extremely well restored vehicle, very much like an early Mack. Is that timber across the top of the chassis there, Greg?
And in between.
In between where the turntable bolts on is insulated with timber. I don't think I've ever seen that before, but yeah, very much the shape of an early B model Mack or something like that, this one.
Yeah, Nittas are very popular. That might have been to take the bounce out of it, take some vibration.
That's it, yeah, it might have been like a shock absorber, that vibration or harmonics or whatever with the timber. Looks good though, it's all varnished and what have you. But Keatings are still around, so you'll see their trucks, like I said, more modern European stuff. We come over to Cabover Kenworth here, belonging to Phillips Transport of Shepparton. Here we go, we've got a Kenworth 1977 K125 CR Cabover. Would have been a hell of a thing to drive this thing. It's powered by a Cummins and 9-speed Eaton transmission. They retained this colour scheme for quite a few years, and yeah, the pinstriping and scroll work on it is really intricate and quite good to look at. Big tanks on it. This would have been, yeah, really good for some of the market stuff and tighter city streets and what have you. Good vision, low roof. Yeah, it would have be interesting to hear this one. I've got a bit of a fondness to the Cummins. You get the right exhaust on a Cummins, and yeah, they sound really good. Really good. Still old school Spider rims on it, of course, Spider wheels. I think the Sons took over at some point, Ian and Gary, and yeah. And here we got the W925 of Jared Hicks. This is a fair step up from a 1418 Benz in the beginning. It says it like he started his career at 15, but he's sort of come through to putting together this unique truck. He was known for customising his rigs, and this one's got unique features like the paintwork and the stripes and these front wheels, which were not a normal thing on these sort of trucks at the time. It's definitely a long wheelbase with plenty of fuel capacity. I think this was possibly restored by Cresco Brothers in Geelong, and you can see some of their touches and the quality of work in it. The scroll work and the paint work, and I think they're possibly Hogue or whatever rear guards there from the US. Couldn't tell you what's in it at the moment, but it'd definitely be something modern, more like a Cummins or a Detroit. Airbag rear suspension, greaseless turntable, that's a bit of an upgrade I think. Plenty of clearance lights and great big Keith Transport Equipment bull bar on it. High rise and air cleaners and big stacks, and yeah, in 2018 Gerard sold his operating business. So yeah, managed to squeeze restoring this old girl in. It's lucky he kept it too. This thing's immaculate from top to bottom. It actually is too. It's a really nice truck. this beautiful 2008 908 Kenworth, which is probably a lot of people's dream truck. This truck may actually belong to the owner of E.H. Holden that Greg Maskell's restored and modified. No say is the rego on that one. This was bought for a particular purpose and very highly optioned, but believe it or not, for a 2008 model, this truck may have only done 600 kilometres. So this is definitely decent resale value on this rig, but geez, it's beautiful. I can't believe it's sitting here not working. But just a beautiful truck, timeless shape. And this is Freestone's B model Mack. I'm not sure on the history of this truck with the company, because you know, like in current times you see Freestone's using a lot of Peterbilts and Kenworths and what have you, but it's definitely their colours. Paul Freestone was inspired by a B61 Mack that used to come into the service station that he worked at as a kid, and by 16 he had his South Australian truck licence. Wow, things were loose back then. At 19, Paul met and eventually married his wife Christine, and they started building a company together in 1976. He's one of the few people that were there when Multigroup, the company Multigroup, became Star Trek. So he was definitely there at the start of a few decent contracts. And Paul Freestone's also known for his historic touring car exploits as well. I don't know that he drives, but I have seen a couple of his Chevy Camaros and that at workshops and what have you. But he's always kept the big Peterbilts and tries to keep his gear in decent condition, and this must just be a bit of a toy for him, and it's a beautiful truck. Alright, if you're wondering what Greased and Gas do with all their YouTube money, YouTube drops it in here, it goes into the machine, counts it, bunches it together, and then Greg and I go and buy yachts, and we're in the middle of trying to get together a private jet, and all the cash just shoots out of here. If you like rat rods, you'll like this rat truck, mate. I'm surprised no one's doing this. This thing here's done a lot of hard work, all the dints in the bull bar and what have you. This thing reminds me of songs like Lights on the Hill and 300 Horses and that by Slim Dusty. And mate, if you could squeeze one of those engines, Greg, into this poor old thing, mate, it'd be wheel standing. But it would have been a hell of a ride, and geez, the mirrors don't even stick out that far, really, do they? Big square tanks, and this one's Cummins powered, and there would have been a lot of heat coming up through the floor, so you definitely wouldn't be a fat truck driver driving this one. And yeah, square tanks. Big square tanks. That's a mid-60s truck. I don't know that America really continued with this style of Cabover after a certain amount of years. They ended up just sticking with the long wheelbase like that 908 over there, and we persisted and improved the Cabovers to the K200s that we have nowadays. And yeah, I remember getting into a 99 K100 when I was driving car carriers, and how I didn't leave tons of hair on the door jamb here getting into the truck. Oh, you need a helmet sometimes. You've got to be careful getting into these Cabovers. But big old school spotties and faded clearance lights, and the old green and white number plates, Garden State number plates. Yeah. Headlights like candles. G'day everyone, we've got Richie here from the Historic Commercial Vehicle Club of Australia, Victoria, was it?
Yes.
Yes. He's going to run us through some of the vehicles that are showing up to move, and the museum here in Shepparton, and give us a basic rundown on some of the vehicles here. I mean, I'm seeing this big old Chevy here. I remember seeing them used as council vehicles in Coburg and what have you, and yeah, it's just like the ultimate tow vehicle, this thing. Do you know what's in it?
No, I don't actually, but I guess a lot of our vehicles in our club, you know, mum and dad have grown up with them on a farm or in the transport industry, and they bring them back, restore them, do them up, and then they join the club, and then they bring them out to days like this. So
yeah, this looks sort of unrestored, really. I mean,
it's probably still in work actually.
Yeah,
and there's a lot of these vehicles around.
It's funny how here, Greg, from here back is sort of square body Chevy. It'd almost be C10 or C20 from here, but it's being a C60, it's obviously quite a lot larger with the tilt front and what have you. But yeah, that's very C10, C20 cab, really. But yeah, they do a lot of tractors as well in the club.
Yeah, not so much in our club, but I guess people are in different clubs. They join different clubs and they've got tractors and trucks, so they use one for the other to take them around to shows and whatnot.
Any excuse to have a truck, I guess. That's probably the excuse that Greg and I would use. Now, what are we looking at here? Yeah, it's a tipper.
Frank's got a great version of his Foden, and you see it around the area. It's here obviously from Shep East, so it's just a great example of something that's been out in the working environment. It's been restored and it's on club reg and turns up to show you a part of the transport history.
That's it. I wouldn't want to break one of those front windows though. They're pretty special, pretty unique. Even the side glass is not necessarily a square.
No, that's it.
Yeah, beautifully restored. Does he still use it for anything like?
No, I think it'll be more for show.
Yeah, almost looks like a potato carrying trailer. And we got an old CFA Acco.
So if you go back into the history of CFA and their vehicles, which go right back to our Austins, CFA have got many restored vehicles across the state.
Yep.
Many people have them, and they do them up and bring them out and showcase them, and it's just another integral part of history. And you know, CFA is very huge in Victoria.
Yeah.
Whether it's out of Metro Melbourne or regional Victoria, and it's great to see, you know, an old ex-Ballarat city pumper like this, where somebody's got hold of it, they're looking after it, and they bring it along to showcase it. And any little kid loves a fire truck. So.
Absolutely, yeah. I imagine all the sirens and everything still work, yep, and yeah, they probably have like a Detroit or GM or something in it.
V8 petrol, I reckon.
Yeah, like the early Bedfords that had massive gas tanks under the side of them.
Yeah, so the old Mack, it's from over near Wangaratta, and yeah, just again a good part of history, and when they really used to build trucks really well back on those.
Yeah, it looks very heavy duty. You would imagine this thing would do a lot of heavy haulage maybe, or
yeah, no, definitely.
Logging maybe.
Bit of everything.
Yeah, a bit of everything. Is this, a lot of Macks and that, early Macks had like 1 or 2 gear sticks in them. Would you reckon this would have 1 gear stick in it, or?
I reckon it might have a couple in it. I haven't actually seen inside this one.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm blessed to be driving a modern truck where there's only 1 stick and a couple of switches and
yep,
what have you. I mean, you still don't use the clutch that much when you're driving them, but yeah, got the old refrigeration unit on the roof there. And
yep.
Were these sort of similar in the early days with the Macks, where they had the different coloured dogs on the bonnet to sort of signify what motors were in them, or?
Yeah, no, not sure.
Not sure. All right.
1418 Benz, I think it's from Yarrawonga, and yeah, just you know, a lot of these trucks were on the road in the earlier days and used for carting cattle and general freight, hay and that type of thing, and there's still a few of them floating around.
It looked like it'd have a decent turning circle with the front axle sort of set back that way, or is that just because the engine's so far forward?
Yeah, probably a bit of both, I reckon.
Yeah, not a lot of, it's a very neat example, that's for sure.
Yeah.
We actually saw a truck inside that had a lot of timber between the turntable and the chassis and that. Do you know anything about that sort of stuff? Is it some sort of harmonics thing, or just decoration?
Sure. Could be.
All right.
They virtually did have different purposes.
I'm asking Richie engineering questions that he probably can't answer. I can't answer.
Before my time.
Yeah.
So the old white 4000, just a fantastic example of something being restored with the GM, and it sounds fantastic. It's from the Myrtleford district.
Yeah.
You know, pulling a bogey drop deck trailer, and
so it sound really nice with a lot of weight on it and what have you. Yeah, looks good, and it's got the old school rain caps on it.
Yep.
Fog lights.
Just a good credit to the owner and what he's done, and he's got a few whites that he restores, and that's what he likes. That's what he's been in the past.
Big fan of the red Road Boss in there. That's a nice truck, that one inside.
Yep.
But yeah, this would be Is it a, do you know what's in it as far as, is it an 892 or 6V92?
It's got an 892 in it.
Oh, even better. Even better.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. You got to rev them pretty hard and what have you between gears.
Sounds good.
That's it. And we've got the most modern truck here. The old Ford Max.
Yeah, so the Max belongs to wifey and I, so it's got a Series 60 in it, 18 speed. It's a 94 model.
Yep.
And we've got a drop deck that we pull Louisvilles with, so my wife's got a Louisville 7000 with a V8 cat in it.
Oh, beautiful.
And we had a LNT with the 903 in it, which we no longer have.
Yep.
And grew up with them, used to work on them, used to drive them.
Yeah, so Ford trucks are in the blood sort of thing, or?
Yeah. My dad, I've got my dad's 46 Ford Thornton at home, which was his first truck, so it needs a lot of repair, but it's sitting there, so... Yeah.
Was there many changes between when they were Fords and went over to Sterling, or?
Well, so the LTLA, which this is, that's the step before they went to the HN80, which was virtually the build of the Sterling.
Yeah.
So this was built in Australia, made in Brisbane. These are the last ones in the Ford factory before they went to Sterling, which Daimler Chrysler, Freightliner, so to speak, started to build.
Yeah. And a lot of people would have seen these doing the run from Geelong back to Campbellfield and that. Yep. Not this truck, but yeah, this hauling a lot of parts for Ford.
Yeah, no, there's plenty of them around.
It's a S-Line International, is it? Transstar?
So the S-Line, so Donny James from Wang, and long time farmer, truck driver, and he just like everybody, you know, likes his old trucks and likes to come for a run and catch up with people. And
single drive's pretty unusual for a truck like this. I actually worked for a guy at a Cabover single drive Kenworth. Yep. That was pretty unusual, but it was only carrying cars really. That's not a huge amount of weight. Yep. And this bus here is definitely not the bus out of Speed.
No, it's a Pioneer bus. And it's in the club too, and the family that's got it just take it out and restoring it and fixing it up. And
is it a motorhome or still full bus?
No, it's a motorhome, but it's sort of, they've kept the outside the best they could, and it's got a Jimmy in it as well.
So that would sound good. Yeah, I remember some of the buses that are in there would have had GMs in them and that, and you just remember hearing them roaring down the street, and they actually used Jake brakes and whatever on those buses, and just sounded phenomenal, mate. But as a motorhome, you couldn't ask for any more space.
No, exactly right.
It looks like, I don't know, what are they up on the roof there? They're not awnings or anything, are they?
I reckon they are.
They are? Yeah. Geez, it'd be good to tow a race car around with this thing. But, mate, thank you for your time, Richie.
That's all right, bud. No worries at all.
Yep. Just keep an eye out on greased and gassed. Bloody hell. Bloody cameras!
Alex, westbound, you want me to